Welcome to Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I am your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm speaking to you from New York City on this, the 10th day of March, 2020. I do want to thank all of you for listening to this show, making it one of the more popular shows in the Voice America Business Channel. Also would like to encourage you to send your comments along to questionsfortaylor@gmail.com, questions, the number 4, taylor@gmail.com. And we do want to thank our sponsors for making this show economically viable. Today's sponsors are Ely Gold Royalties, Great Bear Resources, Hannon Metals, Irving Resources, Lion One Metals, Novo Resources, and Sitka Gold Corp. I've titled today's show, 2 Ways to Profit from the Gold Share Bull Market. When I planned the topic of this show a couple of weeks ago, of course I was not aware that today we would be in the midst of a financial market meltdown. While the coronavirus is a so-called black swan that many commentators are blaming for the decline in the markets, if you are a regular listener to this show, you know very well that there has been a growing systemic weakness in our financial markets that would render a stock market crash inevitable with or without the coronavirus. The coronavirus has no doubt hastened the day of reckoning that has seen a major decline in equity markets, including the Dow Jones losing a record 2,000 points yesterday. Given the fact that the virus is not the cause, but simply a catalyst for triggering financial market chaos, there is no reason to believe that decline is over yet, despite a bit of a bounce today in the equity markets. I'm looking at the Dow, for example, up 666 points as I speak. While these downturns can be extremely painful, successful investors look at such events as profit opportunities. I've often been asked whether when the next equity bear market arrives, will gold and gold shares get taken down with the market as a whole? From my experience, the answer is that they will be taken down. At least the shares will be taken down initially with all the other shares. The same to a lesser extent of gold. But as the central banks begin massive money printing to keep the financial markets from total destruction, tangible assets begin to rise dramatically, and that is most certainly true of gold, and even more so with successful gold exploration companies and gold mining shares. Gold itself is performing very well, I must admit. In fact, so far in the month of March, the average London PM fix is $1,640. That compares to $1,597 for the month of February. As I was preparing for today's show, gold was successfully testing the 1650 level. And as Michael Oliver's work reveals, the dollar is now breaking down, which should provide wind at the back of gold, taking the yellow metal upwards towards what Michael sees as the first significant resistance level of 1700. So while there are difficult days like today when gold gives up around $30 at one point anyway, the yellow metal has held up extremely well compared to equities. It has indeed been a safe haven. The topic of today's show suggests 2 different kinds of gold mining stocks that I believe can lead to very significant profits in the years to come. In just a moment, we will be going to our first commercial break, and when we return, Trey Wasser will be with me to explain how Ely Gold Royalties is building a very significant portfolio of gold production royalties, and how that company's shares have been outperforming gold shares in general, and they've weathered this storm better than most, I should note. In the second half of today's show, Ben Mossman, the president and CEO of Rise Gold, will join me to talk about how that company is moving the famous Idaho Maryland gold mine located in Grass Valley, California, back into production. Now, this was the second most prolific gold mine in the United States after the famous Homestake mine until it was closed by edict during World War II. The mine is now in the permitting stage, and from what I can see, this high-grade gold deposit has the potential to pick up where it left off in the early 1940s by producing upwards to 100,000 ounces of gold or more. Should be very high margin ounces, I might add, at the historic Idaho Maryland gold mine. So I'm very optimistic that the Idaho Maryland mine will be highly profitable and an investment that should do extremely well for investors who recognize the potential of this project before the shares begin to rise along with profitable production.